Yesterday marked 6 months since the Indian Air Force struck the Jaish-e-Mohammed in Balakot, Pakistan. And yesterday was also a day when the Indian Navy chief sounded a very important and disturbing intelligence alert. Admiral Karambir Singh said the Pakistan-based terror group under Maulana Masood Azhar, the Jaish-e-Mohammed, is planning an underwater terror strike, or at least is training its cadres for something like that. The Navy chief said that the Jaish is providing training to its terrorists to carry out strikes via sea, in fact, under the waves. Take a look. Indian ships at sea. India's vast offshore energy assets, both crucial to India's economic strength and security, have always been prized targets of India's enemies. But now there's an alarmingly specific threat that's been identified.
We are doing our best to make sure that there is no intrusion from the seas.
The Navy chief's words prove the security establishment's worst fears. That 6 months after the Balakot airstrikes, the Jaish-e-Mohammed is looking to strike back, and this time from underwater. The Jaish-e-Mohammed underwater terror squad is very likely receiving training by the Musa Company of Pakistan's Special Services Group, or SSG, which in turn was trained by the feared US Navy SEALs. This is the same Pakistani unit that trained the Lashkar-e-Taiba for the Mumbai 26/11 attacks. While India's intelligence agencies have received word that training is on, here's how a typical underwater terror mission would play out. Jaish underwater terrorists would be transported out of Pakistan on a merchant ship to a pre-planned point in the Arabian Sea, where they would then be deboarded. A Pakistan Navy submarine would recover the frogmen and sink beneath the surface. The submarine would then transport the terrorist divers to a location close to a designated Indian target, perhaps off the coast of Mumbai. The divers would then emerge from the submarine either by themselves or in a midget submarine. The methods in such operations are complex, but would broadly play out as follows. A terrorist diver, once dropped at a proximal location from his target, would swim towards the target, which could be a ship or an energy installation. He would then stealthily plant explosives on the target before moving to a safe distance. The explosive would then be detonated, either destroying or debilitating the target. While the Navy says it remains on high alert to the threat, Indian assets that could be targeted by such a squad include Indian merchant ships, naval warships, Indian oil rigs, harbors, coastal infrastructure like bridges, and of course military personnel and civilians. 6 months after the Balakot airstrikes, the Navy chief's disturbing alert is the first signal that the Jaish-e-Mohammed is moving out of its comfort zone of land attacks and looking to hit India from the sea. Bureau Report, India Today. Okay, so this is an actual specific intelligence alert that the Indian Navy chief was talking about yesterday, and it has sent the security system into a tizzy. It basically means that the Jaish-e-Mohammed is training a special underwater cadre for attacks on India. It could happen at any time. There are very scant details. Joining me live now, Gaurav Sawant, Senior Executive Editor with India Today TV. Also with us is Sandeep Unithan, author and Executive Editor of India Today magazine. He, in fact, is the author of the new book, Operation X, which is out. And there could be no better person to talk about underwater warfare than Sandeep, because this is a book about the Indian Navy's underwater special forces operations during the 1971 war. So he knows what it takes to create such a capability, and that's what the Indian Navy is now saying the Jaish-e-Mohammed is doing. Welcome, gentlemen. First, let's tell our viewers what we know about this intelligence alert so far. Here's what we know about it. The Jaish-e-Mohammed is creating, this is what the intelligence alert says, it is creating a cadre of terrorist frogmen. So these are special forces trained terrorists who will be armed and equipped to conduct operations underwater. Moving on to the next slide. They're likely receiving training from the Musa Company of the Pakistani Special Services Group. Remember, the Musa Company and the Special Services Group themselves have received training from the US Navy SEALs. This is training in stealth, in survival, and all manner of underwater sabotage and demolition operations using explosives to target ships or energy installations. They are likely to be armed with very, very cutting-edge diving and survival gear and weaponry, because these are highly specialized operations. So it is unlikely that Pakistan will be sparing any expense in giving these men what they need to carry out such attacks. The training could be completed by next year, is the general sense of what we're talking about. Sandeep, I want to bring you in first on this. Your assessment of this threat. The Jaish-e-Mohammed has largely been known to, carry out ground-based Fedayeen suicide attacks in Jammu and Kashmir. So this was an alarming piece of information that Admiral Karambir Singh, the Indian Navy chief, put out yesterday, saying that it is understood that the Jaish-e-Mohammed is training what could be a cadre of jihadi frogmen.
Shiv, I just want to dial back to the year 2006 when we were discussing these reports of the Lashkar-e-Toiba setting up an underwater wing, a marine component. And just 2 years later, we have the 26/11 attacks. Now, those were not actually terrorist frogmen. It was just a naval component that they were actually infiltrating using a vessel, a captured vessel. The LAT had its own vessel, of course, but they used a trawler to attack Mumbai, right? They captured an Indian fishing trawler. And the most important part about that is that David Headley's confessions,
yes,
he mentions that the plans for the LET's insertion into Mumbai in 26/11 were vetted by a Pakistan Navy frogman. That is really important because it suggests an element of state complicity in the attack of 26/11.
Yes.
Now, coming back to what the Navy chief said yesterday, it's extremely significant because he's obviously not spoken without having very detailed intelligence alerts on what was going on across the border. And to my mind, how this could play out is the fact that they could be used to attack our energy lines which run from the Persian Gulf.
Yes.
Let's not forget that India is the world's third largest oil importer, and something like 80% of our energy supplies flow in from the Persian Gulf. That's one big vulnerability. The second one, of course, is the western seaboard,
yes,
where we have a whole lot of, we have cities, we have nuclear power installations, we have ports and harbors and single point moorings. This is another area of vulnerability. And of course, the fact that the western seaboard is where our warships and merchant ships are
yes,
berthed. So they could be used to attack that. So it's actually a huge, a large list of opportunity targets that this force could possibly attack.
And it's it's an incredibly scary threat, because this is from underwater, much more difficult to track, much more difficult to actually guard against. Gaurav, Sandeep has just listed out those vulnerabilities. The Indian Navy chief has said that they are doing everything to make sure that these designs by the Pakistani Jaish-e-Mohammed are thwarted, even though it's a very difficult thing. How does India defend against a threat of this kind, Gaurav? Tell our viewers what kind of defenses are possible to keep track of this. The starting point, of course, is that we have this very important intelligence.
So the intelligence is there, Shiv, but as you and Sandeep know better, our coastline is so vast. I mean, protecting 7,000 kilometers of coastline is easier said than done. While you have multi-layered security, so you have the coastal police, you have the Coast Guard and the Navy. Coordination amongst the three and coastal policing is extremely difficult. Even during 26/11,
yes,
they left the trawler, got onto a dinghy boat, and then came to a place called Badwar Park in South Mumbai. Now, anyone can do that even today. It will be very difficult to check a speedboat coming in, especially if they're trained frogmen. There's a place called Thatta in Sindh where Lashkar-e-Taiba was trained by Pakistan Navy. Shiv, I was in that Chicago courtroom where David Coleman Headley trial was going on, and that's the time that Federal Bureau of Investigation got a lot of information about how Pakistan Navy or elements who had been a part of Pakistan Navy were training Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists. Similar training, according to our intelligence sources, was subsequently or is subsequently being given to Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists, because LET and Hafiz Saeed are under the FATF scanner.
You know, the scary thing about underwater sabotage operations of the kind that the Indian Navy says the Jaish-e-Mohammed is being trained in, could be a wide variety of operations, like Sandeep said, attacking installations, attacking sea lines, attacking coastal cities. But the graphic we have on our screen, and I want to describe it to you in a little bit of detail, because it paints a kind of broad picture of what one specific such scenario could possibly look like. It's simplistic, I admit that, but it gives you a sense of how things could happen. These terrorists who are trained could be transported by ship. It could be a naval vessel, it could be a merchant vessel, out into the Arabian Sea. They could then be perhaps transferred from that ship to a Pakistan Navy submarine, or an underwater vehicle of some kind. They could then be transported much closer to the Indian coast, or to an offshore oil rig, an energy installation, or a ship at sea, God forbid. And from there, these frogmen would perhaps emerge. They would be armed. They would have survival equipment to stay stealthy and beneath the sea. That's what the training is all about. And they would, in one scenario, plant explosives on their targets and then return to their original positions to detonate those explosives. So that's what is one scenario of what would happen. Sandeep, how difficult are operations of this kind? We do know, and we know that we know from your book, certainly, Operation X, that the Indian Navy has trained personnel in operations very much like this during the 1971 war. And here, the Indian Navy could possibly face a similar threat from the Jaish-e-Mohammed.
Well, Shiv, it's, thank you for pointing out the thing from the book. Now, what happened in 1971 is that the Indian Navy, with the Indian Armed Forces, under a government mandate, were training the forces of the Bangladesh government in exile. And one of that happened to be the Mukti Bahini Maritime Wing, which was trained in sabotaging merchant ships. And from what my study of this last 2 years is, it's not very difficult at all. What you need is a trained, a very highly motivated cadre is all it takes, and which are capable of swimming. If you have that raw material available to you, then converting them into frogmen is not difficult at all, because let's not forget the Pakistan Navy is as good as the Indian Navy in underwater capabilities, and in fact they were the first Navy in South Asia to have underwater commandos and frogmen and midget submarines, in fact even before the Indian Navy. So in that sense they are a very well established force. So it's just a matter of finding the raw material for this, training them, and then, like you mentioned in the scenario, inserting them to carry out these operations.
Gaurav, I wanted to remind all of our viewers that yesterday happened to be 6 months since the Balakot airstrikes. And here we see the Jaish-e-Mohammed, which has been largely quiet for the last 6 months. This intelligence alert pointing out that they're training for something else. This constitutes a move away from their comfort zone, Gaurav, but it also points to a desperation. India has managed to pin down Pakistan in many ways. It has certainly happened diplomatically. We know it's happening on the ground as well. So this points to desperation to create some kind of impact and mount a terror attack.
Shiv, you've hit the nail on its head. Pakistan is very desperate at this point of time, from their army to their political leadership to their terrorists. And that is why before Imran Khan's address at the United Nations General Assembly, Pakistan is desperate to rake up, one, the Kashmir issue as Pakistan puts it, and two, show that this place is a nuclear flashpoint. India says no. You heard Prime Minister Narendra Modi just yesterday in his conversation with the US President Donald Trump that he said, I've got things under control domestically, and with Pakistan we're talking bilaterally. But Pakistan wants to internationalize this issue, and that is why they want a big international event to take place which they can blame on India. So that is why Pakistan will try something and then hope that the reaction would get world focused on Kashmir and not on Pakistan state-sponsored terror. So that's the clear danger at this point of time. God forbid, if a merchant vessel is, they succeed in sinking a merchant vessel near the Mumbai harbour, not many lives are lost, but at the same time your
The economic impact.
Yeah, the economic impact is tremendous.
And that is perhaps what they're actually looking at, not just shock and awe, but also a long-lasting impact on the Indian economy, if not bringing both countries to the brink of war. Gentlemen, Sandeep and Gaurav, thank you very much for joining me on this. It's not just one small terror threat or an intelligence alert. It has much wider implications, as Gaurav and Sandeep have just mentioned. Well, staying with Pakistan, it has been embarrassed globally over the last few weeks, and that's perhaps why Pakistan's Prime Minister has now been shamed for the third time in 48 hours as well. Pakistan's opposition leader and PPP chief Bilawal Bhutto has said that Imran has already lost Kashmir after India scrapped Article 370, and now he should concentrate on retaining Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Bilawal has said, and I quote, "Earlier we are talking about Srinagar, but nowadays we talk about how to save just Muzaffarabad," unquote. Remember, Imran has been under serial attack in Pakistan after India's historic move on Jammu and Kashmir. His own leaders from across political lines have been lashing out at Imran for not being able to draw global attention on the issue and instead increase Pakistan's total global isolation at the hands of India.
ये नजर नहीं आया कि मोदी ने क्या मकबूजा कश्मीर छीन लिया है। पहले हमारा कश्मीर पे पॉलिसी क्या होता था? पहले पाकिस्तान का पॉलिसी होता था कि अब श्रीनगर कैसे लेंगे। अब खान की बात, इमरान की नाकामी के बाद, सिलेक्टेड की वजह से, इनकी नाकामी की वजह से, इनकी ग्रीड की वजह से पाकिस्तान का क्या पोजीशन है कि हम मुजफ्फराबाद को कैसे बचाएंगे? ये आज पाकिस्तान की फॉरेन पॉलिसी की पोजीशन है।
Gaurav, I want to bring you in on this. Bilawal Bhutto leaving absolutely no emotion and no stone unturned to shame Imran Khan there, both inside Parliament and outside. And this is really the cherry on top. I think it's the third big humiliating attack from within in Pakistan.
Oh, absolutely. This is a huge attack on Imran Khan. Shiv, Imran Khan kept attacking Prime Minister Narendra Modi, saying Nazi, Nazi, Nazi and all of that stuff. Today, Bilawal Bhutto says Niazi is worse than Nazi. He's put opposition leaders in jail. He's silenced the press in Pakistan. And Shiv, what's the cherry on the cake, the icing on the cake, is the fact that this is the first time that Pakistan army has been targeted by Bilawal Bhutto, and in no uncertain terms. He says, fine, you're a selected prime minister. Should we only criticize you or the people who have selected you? That so far the commentary was, we'll take Srinagar. Now the commentary was, how will we save Muzaffarabad from Modi? Then he goes on to say that we are a party, Pakistan People's Party is a party that has fought Yahya Khan, Ayub Khan, Musharraf and Zia. So who are you? We will sort you out. So it's a big attack on Imran Khan and his mentors, the Pakistan army.
So Gaurav, correct me if I'm wrong then. All of these emotions spilling out, at a time when Imran Khan is hoping for some kind of a unified voice, obviously is, it highlights the point of how Pakistan under Imran Khan has simply failed to get anyone on their side. That isolation has been amplified by this open bickering that's happening inside.
Absolutely open bickering, which has pushed Imran Khan into a corner. Worse than Imran Khan, it's put Pakistan army in a corner. For 70 years, they claim to be the sword arm of Allah. They claim to be the sword arm that was getting Kashmir. And now Bilawal Khan is voicing the opinion of the people of Pakistan who are saying that, we put you on a pedestal for 70 years. You practically lost every war to India. And today, you'll have to save Muzaffarabad from Modi instead of saying that, Kashmir banega Pakistan. Muzaffarabad kaise bachega Modi se is now the next question in Pakistan.
Well, politicians who take on the Pakistan army in Pakistan have paid a very heavy price in the past. Let's hope nothing happens to Bilawal Bhutto. This is a political attack he's taken, and like Gaurav pointed out, it's rare to see he's even taken a pot shot at the Pakistan army. Gaurav, thank you so much for that.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.